Hello, hello, welcome.
Good. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll give a little bit of time for everybody to get in and then we'll get started. We're doing today the Howard's Tam hat. So I'm going to show the cast on kind of, and then how we make this nice brim and cabling. So we'll get started in I'm just going to give another minute for people to get in, and then we'll get started. We do have this is the worsted yarn by Zen, the Serenity worsted, and all of these projects take less than a skein, or one skein or less, I'll say it that way. So we do have kits that you can buy, so you can make all of them if you want to, or any particular ones or multiples of some.
And we've put together a kit for our quick gift knits, and that is still on sale for 30% off between now and Thursday at midnight. You can just add it to the cart and the savings will be shown. So it's 30% off the price of several skeins of worsted to be able to knit along with us. So even if you're not going to knit all of these patterns, it's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun. They're worsted, so I feel like all of them just go quickly. And we're starting out with the one that probably takes the most time, and then next week we're going to do the cowl, and then the following week we do the mitts, and the mitts go like super fast, so you could even whip those out before Christmas.
Oh, Roxanne got to it before I did. I was going to answer the question in chat.
Yes.
And Roxanne, you got to answer the next one because I don't know.
Yeah.
The first one was mini skeins, and those are fingering weight. The second one is how long does it take to get it after it's ordered? It usually ships very, very quickly. And providing the US Postal Service cooperates, that's the other concern.
About a week, I would say, though.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's what Roxanne said.
All right, awesome. So let's get started. So again, I'm Suzanne Nielsen, and Laura and I have been leading these tutorials for a while now. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
But we also have gift certificates, right, Laura? So tell us about that, maybe.
Yes, you need to pay attention partway through the session tonight. We will have two $20 gift cards, and I will be asking some trivia questions. So pay attention because there'll be answers to those. And tonight we're going to take probably the fourth person to give us the correct answer. We try and do that sometimes to even it out because some people have super fast connections. And so we definitely want to vary things up a little bit. I also wanted to say that this is our 37th Tutorial Tuesday, and it is sponsored by Zen Yarn Garden. So, and we are already, we have 2 more tutorials coming up for this month, the rest of the gift knit series. We will then take a couple weeks off. We will start again the second week in January, not the first week, but the second week. And we're working on some other techniques and projects. And I will say, if there's anything that we have not covered in our previous tutorials, go ahead and put your suggestions in of things you'd like to see us cover in the chat tonight. I will copy them down because we are starting to brainstorm topics for January and February, and we are always interested in knowing what you would like to see. I think I'm good there. So, I'll go back to you.
All right, without further ado, I'll go back to, so this is Howard's Tam. So the construction of this one are that you cast on, and actually, Laura, I'm going to make you show yours again since you have it a little bit ways along.
Sure.
So one option I think that Laura's doing is she's just knitting the whole thing and then going to go back to create the hem. I'm going to show you what to do if you want to knit this hem in as you're going, but maybe just hold yours up, Laura, and show us what it looks like.
Sure. The deal was that I cast this on while I was in the car on some recent travels. And so I did not have a lot of extra yarn and a crochet hook or to do a provisional cast on and whatnot. So I just did a standard long tail cast on, and then I knit the extra squishy brim. So I knit all of that, and I will go back at the end. I didn't leave myself a long enough tail. When I'm smart and I think about it, I leave myself a long enough tail so
Yes,
that I
if
can
you haven't
just go
started
ahead
yet.
and fold my brim up and just tack it down with a bit of mattress stitch or whatever else works. You can just kind of tack it down on the inside.
Yeah.
Tonight, Suzanne is going to show you a way to sort of cast on and join.
Yes, and join it. So it is a double layer in this brim section that's doubled right here, but it's nothing fancy. It's just folded over on itself.
Well, and I have knit enough that I have enough to do the double brim. I definitely knit it that way. I just, to be honest, I didn't read the pattern carefully enough.
All right, so I'll show you the way the pattern is written. So I'm going to switch over here to my my hands, and feel free to ask questions in the chat as we get going. But all right, oh gosh, it is upside down. Why are you upside down? Let me see if I can flip this. Well, let's see here. This might just have to do the old-fashioned way of actually flipping it. The camera should be able to flip somehow, but we'll do it this way. All right. So here's my brim. I actually just did a backward E loop cast on, so I will show you that. But you could do a long tail cast on, or really any kind of cast on that you want. It's not important because it gets hidden. And it doesn't even need to be like particularly stretchy or anything. But what I did is just made, actually, I don't even know if I started with a slip knot. I think I didn't. So you can start with a slip knot. That's usually the easiest way, and put that on your needles. And then you can do long tail, or sorry, getting back in here. I just did the E-wrap cast on, or the backward loop. I don't even know what this is called, but it's really just wrapping it backwards. So you make a little loop with your thumb and then place it on the needle. And that just gives like a very simple cast on that doesn't have a lot of extra bulk to it. Yeah, do you know what this is called, Laura? I think it's called E-wrap, but anyway.
I have always heard of it as the backwards loop.
Backwards loop. All right, so you're kind of creating this backwards loop and placing it on the needle and then pulling. And then the other trick that I used, I was obviously casting on circular needles, but I did not join in the round right away. So I casted on all my stitches, and then I just turned my work and knit back flat. And then I joined in the round, and that helps not twist your stitches, because it's a lot easier to see once you've knitted one row. So I did just turn my work, and I started in pattern right away. I did knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2 all the way around. And then once I got that one row done, then I joined in the round and continued on. And then it's just a lot of knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. And then once you get to the point in the pattern, I think it's row 39, she tells you to bring up the rim. So you kind of, you're knitting along, you tuck the rim up tuck the bottom up inside, and then you go down and you find your cast on edge. And then we're going to pick up a stitch of the cast on edge and knit it together with a stitch from your work that you're working on. So I'm showing you how to do that here. So you'll find your tail. You can just, follow the rib down and back up and make sure that you're lining up this, rib with the front one, so that you're nice and even and your whole thing isn't shifted, but it's not super critical. So what happens is this, for each 2 by 2 in our rib, so you have 2 knit stitches, and you're going to pick up 1 stitch from that 2 by 2 and knit together. So I'll show that right now. So a couple different ways you can do it. When you're first starting, I think the easiest is to kind of just find some part of that cast on. Like I said, this doesn't really matter too much because it gets hidden, but pick that one up. I use my right needle and put it on the left needle, and then knit 2 together. And then we'll just knit 1 plain, And then we're going to do the same thing and purl 2 together with this one. So we'll go down here. We find this, this purl trough kind of here, and we're just going to pick up something there. It's not, again, too critical, and place it on the needle. And then we'll purl 2 together. And then purl 1. So you can always use this right needle to pick up that stitch. But another way to do it that, you know, sometimes can save you a little time is just to find it with your left needle here and then put it on the needle and knit 2 together, or knit that together with the, and remember that it's not going to show on the front, and it's not going to show that much on the back either. So anywhere you can find that's basically in that, you know, corresponding knit stitches or purl stitches will work. And then you just do a regular knit one. And then for the purl one too, you can just kind of stick your needle in and then purl these 2 together. Purl with the yarn in front. All right. And then when you get to all the way around, it will look like this. We have the last ones here. And this is my actual tail. So I don't want to, I'm kind of tucked my tail already in between. Then I don't even have to weave it in. So I'll pick one up and purl it together and then purl one. And now I'm back around. And my rim is joined to, or my brim is formed, sorry. My brim is formed, joined together, and then we can just go on our merry way. I also, I don't know how, if this is like a common way to do things, but I call this like a half magic loop. So I'm using a cable that's longer. I'm not using a, you know, one that's small enough to just go continuously around, but I don't really have so many stitches that I have to do magic loop. So I kind of call this half magic loop, or like muggle magic loop, I guess. But what happens is at my beginning of round, I pull out this needle, which pulls this needle back in. So it's kind of like magic loop, but you only have one loop. So I only have this one loop, and now I can knit around my whole hat without having to do magic loop on this side too. So I can just knit around. So I'm going to knit a little bit, and maybe right now we'll take a little break and do the giveaways, and then I'll show you the cabling and the decreasing for the hat.
Okay, go ahead and open your chat. And let's talk about, there we go. Okay, I'm going to take the 4th correct answer. What was the cast on that Suzanne demonstrated tonight? And there are 2 terms you can use for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on just a second. They always fly by, and then I have to go back. 1, 2, 3. And 4, that's E. Macario. And backwards, it's backwards loop. It's not backwards magic loop, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Go ahead and message Zen Yarn Garden, and you will get a $20 gift card for tonight. And then let's go ahead and do the second. What is the name of the pattern that we're knitting right now?
Ooh, good one.
I already put it in the chat thread, so. Okay, and number 4 is Stephanie Bardwell, the Howard Tam. That is correct. So go ahead and message Zen Yarn Garden, and she will get you your gift certificate. And as normal, gift certificates will apply towards anything on the site. So you could save the 30% on your worsted weight gift kit and also use your gift card on that. So
nice. All right, so we'll get back to.
I don't think I vamped for enough time to let you get to the cables, or are you just gonna
not quite. I
show
thought
it
maybe
anyway?
I'd be able to get around, but I'll just show.
Okay.
All right, back to my hands here. So then on your next row, you're going to switch from just 2x2 ribbing, and you're going to knit 6 and then purl 2. So it sets your knitting up to do the cables. So see, here it was 2x2, and then now it changes to knit 6, purl 2, knit 6, purl 2. And all of the cables are in the stockinette sections. And actually all of these cables are right crosses. So it's a fun pattern because you only have to remember one cable and that's it. And it's pretty easy because you can see where to do it because it's every time you're in that stockinette section. So you're going to knit, I think it's 7 rows and then do a cable. So you have to give yourself a little bit of room. It'll feel like nothing's happening, but then once you do the cable, it really takes up a lot of those stitches and then it makes it look nice. So you need those plain sections in between. So
Linda asked if you don't have worsted, if you can hold fingering weight doubled. And the answer is yes, it should give you an approximate.
Yeah, it'll work. In fact,
should give you approximately a worsted weight. So if you have a skein of fingering weight and the hat takes around 185 yards. So if you have a skein of fingering weight, you could either wind the ball and knit from the inside and the outside, or you could hold 2 separate yarns together and give yourself a little bit of a marl.
Mm-hmm. And that I did do that on this cowl. It's a worsted weight cowl, but in this particular one, I held fingering double. So anyway, so when you're doing the cables, these are all right cross cables. So right cross means that the cable looks like it's crossing to the right. And so what we're going to do is take, we have our 6 stitches. We're going to take the 3 stitches and hold them in back, and then knit 3 stitches, and then go back and knit the 3 stitches. So when you're just reading the pattern, you can do it with a cable needle. You'll take 3 stitches and put them on a cable needle, hold them in back, and then knit 3. But I'm going to show you how to do it without a cable needle because I hate cable needles. Well, not that I hate them. I just, am lazy and don't want to go find them.
And if you haven't knit cables before and are a little nervous about it, I'm going to tell you the secret about cables. The way you make cables is you just knit the stitches in a different order.
Yes.
So you're going to pass some stitches behind and some stitches in front, and you can do it over any number. But for years, after my grandmother taught me to knit, I was convinced I couldn't learn to cable because, oh my goodness, you had to use a separate needle for it. But really, you're just knitting the stitches in a different order in which they appear on your needle.
Yes. So I'll show that to you here. So what we're going to do is work this cable over the next 6 stitches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you're a little bit farther along the hat, it will look, it will just be easier because these will all be stockinette for a little bit, and you'll see those. But what I like to do instead of taking these 3 stitches and putting them on a cable needle is what we want to do is switch the order. So we want to knit these 3 stitches before we knit these 3 stitches. So I actually, in this case, I will just rearrange them before I start knitting. So I'm going to take my right hand needle and go into those 3 stitches that I want to knit first. This is the scary part. It's really not that scary, but now I'm going to actually let these 3 stitches slip off of the needle. But bear with me, I'm going to kind of pinch them from the base. I can even just kind of pinch the knitting down here, and that will really, they're not going to go anywhere because we're not pulling on them in any way. So I pull them all off of the needle. And so now these 3 are on here. So now I take this needle and I'm going to pick them back up. So just go in and pick them back up. And I see I picked that one up crosswise or backwards, but that's okay. I just got it onto the needle. And then I'm going to take these 3 and put them back over here. So I really just rearrange the stitches. And now all I have to do is knit across them. So I'll just knit across, knit 3, and then knit these 3. Now this one, I realized that I picked up backwards, so I'm just going to twist it around, or I could have just knit into the back loop. But that's it. We just did a cable. And then we can continue on. So then it would be knit or purl 2, and then we would do another cable. So I'll do another one here just to show again, and then we'll take any questions. So again, it doesn't matter whether you're knitting continental or English style, because right now I'm not even using the yarn. I'm just going to rearrange these stitches. And again, if you're more comfortable with a cable needle, then you could just take another cable needle and put 3 stitches on that cable needle, leave them in the back, knit these 3 stitches, and then knit the 3 stitches from the cable needle. But I really encourage you to try it without, because it's easier. In my opinion.
It does make it faster. It means you don't have to worry about where your cable needle is every 8th row. And if you don't have a specific cable needle, you can use any extra needle or an extra DPN. Or if you want to purchase a cable needle, often they're little plastic needles, and sometimes they're actually a little bent so that they can kind of trap stitches in the middle.
Yeah, so they don't slide out. Yeah, I just find a lot of times they just slide out too. So then you just go along, just knit the 3 stitches and knit the next 3. All right, and because this, the way that this pattern is written, all of the cables in the entire hat are right crosses. So that's all you have to think about is doing, you're going to do the same cable. They also all occur in the same row. So you just work even for 7 rows, and then you do a row where you cable each time you see the 3, or sorry, each time you see the 6 stockinette stitches. And then you do that, you repeat that, I think it's 3 times, and then we start the decreases. And the decreases are done really well too. They're done in the purl rows sometimes, but they're done in such a way that once you, I'm going to try and spread this out so you can see the decreases here. You know, it's pretty easy, just follow the pattern, and then you do another. So this is the last row of just regular cables, and then you start doing a decrease. But in your decreased rows, you'll do 1 more set of cables, so that you get this nice, you know, it looks like it's decreasing really evenly and nicely, and then it just goes up into right there, 6 decreases in the brim here, if you can see. All right, so any questions? Let's see if anybody wants to see something again. Was that clear, or any other questions?
I don't see any in our chat thread, but we're open to them.
All right, yeah, let us know if you have any next week. How
many rows is the brim? It's specified in the pattern, rows 1 through 39.
Yeah, so you just knit 39 rows, and then you bring the brim up. Or if you don't want to bring the brim up, you know, at this point, you can just go right into your cables.
Well, and if you decide you don't want to sew the brim down, you can always just fold it.
Yes, then you can fold it up.
Tuck that in, but you can always just fold it up, just like a regular hat. The nice thing about the double brim, and particularly with it sewn down, is it'll keep your ears nice and warm.
Yes, but if you don't know the exact size of the person, that could be a reason to not sew it up, because then they can fold it as much or as little as they want to. Yeah, so that's a fun way to have it.
And I will say, we had one comment on Facebook that thought the brim was kind of long for them. And if you decide you want to make your brim a little bit shorter, you could knit it to whatever length you want. Remember, you're potentially knitting a double brim here. So
Sometimes I think that when I look at the hat, when I just look at it like this, I do think, oh, that's a little long, but let me try this on, because I think on, it just really looks perfect. So, I'm always one for like modifying, but I think this one really, you can decide, but I think it looks good to
All I'm
have that
saying is you
wide
can
part.
decide to do your ribbing shorter, and you can decide to omit the double brim if you don't want to make it doubled.
Mhm.
If you live in a cooler climate and you don't necessarily need it, you can do that.
Yeah.
E. Macario asks if it's the same procedure if the cable was held to the front.
Yeah,
You would
so
get
if
a
you
left
hold,
cable, but
yeah,
yes.
if you hold the cable in front, then it just becomes a left cross cable. So you could do your whole hat left cross cable and it would look virtually the same. But it's when you switch back and forth between the two that things get a little wonky. And so unless you want that design element in there, then, so just remember, if you hold the stitches in front, then they're going to be left cross. If you hold the stitches to the back, then it's going to be a right cross. And you can kind of, once you've done it a couple times, I think it's a little easy to visualize what's happening. But if you just know that the term right cross means that it looks like it's going to the right, and the left cross means it's left going to the left. And we did do a cable tutorial Tuesday at some point, so you can probably find that and get a little bit more details. But all right, so next week we're going to do this cowl, which is called the Double Delight Cowl, and that's because it looks nice on both sides. It's also written in two different ways. You can either knit it in the round or you can knit it flat. And that's because it is a garter stitch in the round, so you do have to purl if you do it in the round. But if you knit it flat, then you can just, it's more knitting. You still do have to purl in the lace sections, but yeah, so we'll cover that next week. And
You can
yes,
Ellen asks if you can use Aran weight for the cowl.
yeah, you can. It's pretty, flexible. So you could go, maybe if you are using Aran weight, go down in needle size. I would still stick to the same number of repeats. You can add, maybe next week I'll expand on that a little bit. You could add a couple of stitches in each of the garter knits or garter stitch sections.
Well,
if you
Aran's
wanted
usually above worsted, isn't it? Aran's usually slightly
to.
thicker than worsted.
Bigger? Oh, I always thought it was less. But
I thought it was between worsted and bulky.
Okay. Well, in that
I might be wrong.
we should look that up.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, you could definitely, for the cowl, it's pretty flexible. So in that case, you could go up a needle size if you wanted to, or you could stay at the same needle size and it would just be a little bit thicker.
Worsted is slightly finer than Aran weight.
Okay. Wow.
So the only thing you could run into is you could use your yarn a little bit differently. So if you're using Aran weight, you might not get quite as long or tall a cowl if you try and follow the pattern. You might end up finishing a few rows early. Just because as you change your gauge, you might use more or less yarn.
Yep, but yeah, it's pretty flexible. So you can adjust a little bit. I guess use a DK or an Aran or a worsted. Or doubled fingering works too. And then your yardage works out about right if you double the fingering to get the worsted. So
okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.